these people know, and they are correct, almost without exception, that if they do not become such so-called meshumadim, if they do not accept all kinds of ideas and assumptions, they will not be promoted. They will not receive a higher position. They will not be considered for a higher court or what have you. We see this all the time, and we see it, of course, now. Much of what is being discussed right now in Israel with regards to judicial reform. What will be at the end of the day, we do not know. We shall wait and see. But the very discussion amongst the leftists, the so-called progressives, etc., is if you know who these people are, then it's no longer really surprising. But the fact that there are also certain religious people who are very outspoken and adopt these views show to what extent they have been brainwashed, so that which is the norm in all so-called democratic countries, that judges are selected and confirmed by elected representatives of the public. This is how it is in all countries that you might think of, whether it's New Zealand or United States or France or Finland. But somehow, if someone suggests that should also be the case in Israel, that is literally, quite literally, the beginning of the descent into fascist Nazism. These are the words used by these people. And again, some of them are rabbis, so-called. How did this happen? Where do these ideas come from? The real answer is we're talking about a religion. These ideas, these philosophies, these attitudes are part of a philosophical religious reality. And it's possible, unfortunately, to maintain a certain kind of religious lifestyle in many areas, but in one's mind and one's heart, to be completely off the derech. In other words, to think and view things through a pair of spectacles that are anything but Torah spectacles. Such a thing is possible, and it's becoming increasingly possible. And when we see this all the time. So you can, we've discussed here people in the academic world, in the judicial world, but you can also see it on a much simpler, more commonplace level in Israeli society. I myself can tell you about people that I know, young people. In one case I'm thinking of is a young woman who today she's in her early 30s, shall we say. She came from a non-religious background. She was Hazeret B'Teshuvah of her own volition at an early age, I think 16 or 17 or something like that. And she was very proud of her new religious identity. And she was, at that time, she was very, she dressed according to halakha, long sleeves, she covered her hair, etc. When she got married, she married a young man from a religious background, but he over time became much less committed, shall we say, to the Torah. There's a fairly lukewarm attitude, shall we say, and that's number one, which that has an impact on the wife as well. If the husband is less Torah oriented, this will rub off on the wife very likely as well. Even more telling is that I know some of her social contacts in her family and what have you, in-laws, when she sees that her sisters-in-law, who once covered their hair, no longer cover their hair because it's becoming increasingly, to quote that great halachic authority, passé, if she sees that her sisters-in-law, who were also once more religious, covered their hair, today do not do so, well, at some point she's going to break. Why should she be the odd woman out? Why should she be what they call in Hebrew the dos? Why should be the which is a terrible term, I think, but that's how it's described. A person who is openly and unashamedly religious is referred to as a dos. So why should she be so? Why should she be, as it were, backward and less forward thinking than her peers? So these kinds of influences are everywhere, and you can see it everywhere you go.